This is Marriage on the Half Shell, Raw and Exposed. So, we've decided to title tonight's episode Not a Trivial Pursuit. We're going to talk about how to. Well, we'll talk a little bit about the dating sphere and pursuing a potential mate.
Right.
But then we're also going to talk about what this looks like after you're married, too. Because I think a lot of couples, they get into a routine. They're either both going to work or, mom's home with the kids and dad goes to work or whatever it is. And this gets pushed to the side.
Right.
You get busy, but this is something that you should never be too busy for.
Yes.
So, but I just sprung this on Jay. I told him that I was going to start with an anecdote because we were having this discussion over dinner about our wedding.
Yes.
And you said your memory was...
Well, what was the best...
Right.
The best memory from your wedding or the happiest memory from your wedding?
Right.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I said it was when her dad was walking her down the aisle. Just the expression on her face it made me happy. I mean, it was like... It was a combination of being proud of herself, which was difficult at that time, was very difficult.
Yes, it was.
For you, and being happy that you were there, and also this look that just to me said, I've got you, that sort of thing. I mean, in a good way.
Well, okay.
So go ahead.
Well, it made me think about we've been to a number of weddings over the years.
Yep.
And we've, participated in some weddings and stuff. And that's actually a comment that you've made multiple times about other women. Like, they come down the aisle after the ceremony and you said they always have that, I got you now look. What are you going to do, You've said that multiple times over the years.
Okay.
Yeah, you have. And you actually made that comment about our wedding picture when we were coming back down the aisle, because we'll go back and look at our wedding pictures from time to time. So you said that about me too, right? Okay. And I think the connection I made was that too many couples think that the pursuit is over once you've had the ceremony.
Yeah, they do.
And that's not the way to keep your relationship alive and growing and thriving. Mm-hmm. Is to go into marriage thinking, well, the wedding's over. I've got him. I've got her.
Right.
Nothing left to do. There's nothing left to do. And the fact is that ceremony should be the smallest part of your relationship, not the largest part of your relationship.
Yeah. So many people put all this significance on the day, and not even the day, not even the vows, because that's obviously the most important part of the whole day.
Yeah.
But they put the significance on the reception, the party, the ceremony itself, all this, and they wrap so much into it, and then that's kind of it, and they put all this effort into it, but they don't go into the marriage thinking, we should really be putting our hard work into our relationship, not just this big ceremony.
Yes. Yeah. So. And we're not saying there's anything wrong with having...
No, I mean, we had a
nice
ceremony.
A nice ceremony,
reception, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No. We did that for all four of our daughters, too. And actually our son, we made sure that the wedding was nice, the reception was nice, and, they had a memorable day.
Yes.
But, our children that are married realize that, the work you put into the wedding has very little to do with your marriage, your relationship. Yeah. So, anyway.
Well, before you go, you gotta tell them the answer to the question.
What?
What was your happiest
We'll see.
memory. That
But mine
story.
sounded just kind of silly. Yours was like correlated to me and how you felt about me. And mine had more to do with the fact that I guess I can talk about the one part because she's passed away now, right?
Your mom?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So, my mom was not happy that I was getting married at all. I think what she wanted was to control everything. So, and she had no control over me. She hadn't had control over me since I was like 16, right? So, I moved to Maryland. I meet you. You know, everybody in Maryland that we care deeply about is completely on board with us getting married.
Yep.
They're ready for it. They want it. Everybody's in. My mom was another story. I took you home to meet my mom. My mom immediately hated you. She told me she didn't like you. Blah 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 blah. All of this that I expected. And so they came to our wedding. They literally drove from Indiana to Maryland. They stayed one night in D.C., I think, because Bernie wanted to go see the Vietnam Memorial.
Yeah.
So, and I
is
get
fine.
that. That's,
Yeah.
that was, I think that was good for him. So they drove from D.C. to where the wedding was. And if you looked at our wedding pictures, you could see on her face, she was just horrified. She looked angry and sad the entire day.
Yeah.
Which is not really how you should look when your daughter's getting married to a nice young man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but she sat behind us because she was in the front row, of course, mother of the bride, and wailed and moaned,
Yeah, I guess.
you know, during the wedding. And we could hear her. And our flower girl was standing behind me the entire time. And I will not say her name because she's still around, and I would be horrified if she heard this. But she had a little gas, and she kept letting it escape. I'll just put it that way.
She was
During
young.
the ceremony, she was like 3.
Yeah.
2, 3
very
years
young.
old. She was very little. And so the pastor you could see his face just quivering. He's trying not to laugh. And Jay and I are looking at each other, and we can't even make eye contact with him because if we had all 3 made eye contact, the whole thing would have just gone to pieces. We would have, because my maid of honor heard tooting, and she knew about the whole thing with my mom. So she's trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
It was great. It was actually, yeah, it was good because I think my mom put some effort into ruining it.
She tried.
She tried.
She did not succeed.
I mean, they drove to the wedding. She put on this whole, act, and then within minutes of the ceremony being over, they left. Like I had my father-daughter dance actually with Bernie. That's how I tried to include him in the wedding.
Yeah.
He didn't appreciate it at all. He actually made some kind of nasty comment to me. I don't even remember what it was. Anyway,
on,
but soon after that, they were
memory.
like, I know. I laugh at it now.
Okay.
Right? So, but soon after that, they got back in their car and drove back to Indiana. All right, well, okay. I don't know, we were happy. We were happy. Dad and Sherry were happy. Your parents were happy. Your mom was elated. She was just floating around. She was so happy. We had our friends around us. It was good. It was. Your sisters had to step in and become my bridesmaids at the last minute. That was kind of fun too. Anyway, so enough about that.
It was great.
Yeah, it was.
And it worked out to counter the attempt
The
at
dark
sabotage.
cloud that my mom attempted to rain all over everything. I don't know.
She did
Anyway,
not succeed.
no, she didn't.
Happy memory.
Anyway, so
what were we talking about?
So we were going to start actually with pursuing versus chasing, like when you're in the dating pool. And let me tell you something. I am so glad that we're married and we're not in this dating chaos that is going on out there in the world right now.
Yeah.
It really is a train wreck.
Yep.
But there are nice young men and nice young ladies who need to get connected and get married and start having babies. I mean, that's just what needs to happen now.
Sure.
But, so we're going to talk about pursuing as opposed to chasing, right?
Yeah, and this is just one little aspect of dating.
Yeah.
That we're going to talk about.
We're not going to actually go too deep into
right,
the dating stuff.
Maybe we'll expand on how to date. I mean, we've talked about vetting your future partner, but that's
right.
after you've kind of established
yeah.
that you're trying to do something long term, that sort of thing. And I would say, before we get to that, you know, I would always advise young people to, how do I put it?
I'm not sure.
To be open about what you're trying to do.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Don't just go out and be part of the hookup culture, because you're really hurting yourself and hurting
you're
the
hurting
other people
yeah,
as well. It might not seem like it, you know, you're having fun, whatever, but you're really damaging yourself spiritually and psychologically.
Yeah.
And it will come out later.
Right.
So don't do that. Just be open about what your intentions are. And if you meet somebody who is just, you know, interested in a casual relationship and nothing long term or whatever, then, you know, you can say, well, that's not what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's have a great dinner, and we won't waste each other's time.
Right.
Right. And you move on.
Yeah.
And you find somebody who wants, you know, to evaluate your relationship in terms of, will this work long term? Are we compatible, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
We talked about some of that, the vetting and all that. You can go back and listen to that one.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I felt like I just wanted to get that out there.
Okay. So what you just described is actually the pursuit part. Like, you have your standards, and you shouldn't lower your standards, and you have your goals in in relationships, and those things need to be conveyed very quickly.
Yeah, very early in, like, first or second date.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm not saying you look, guys, I'm not saying you sit down at dinner and you look across at the girl and you say, I love you, we should get married. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Don't do that, right? It's just about being transparent, saying, you know, maybe on the second or third date, hey, we seem to be having a good time together. I want you to know this is why I'm dating you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
Right.
And I don't know if we're compatible or not. We don't know each other that well, right? You're up front.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so far I like you.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and things could change as you discover things about each other.
Right.
That might make you say, this isn't the one. Mm-hmm. Hey, it's been great, but I don't want to waste any more of your time.
Yeah.
I'm looking for someone that I can spend the rest of my life with, and end it.
Yeah.
You know.
Actually, one of the, I listen to a lot of podcasts during the day. One of the guys that I listened to, he was in his early 20s, I guess, and he decided, you know, it's like, okay, you know, it's time for me to start looking for a wife. You know, this was some years ago, but he said he dated a few girls and knew very quickly that they weren't the one. They were not going to be the one that he was going to do this with. But when he sat down with his wife, he realized they were on the same path as far as their faith, as far as the goals, as far as what they wanted in a family. And she conveyed that quick. She was like, this is what I'm after.
Yeah.
And he said, I was making $20,000 a year, so I don't have money. I don't have anything to offer this girl. But yet, this is what she is telling me on the first or second date. And he said, by the time I drove her home, I was like, well, I'm done. This is the girl I'm going to marry. You know, and it's not like he fell in love with her right there, but it was like he had been looking and looking for someone who was, they were on the same page.
Same page, yeah. Same path, same page.
They were on the same path. And that's what happened with us.
Yeah.
I was a hot mess, obviously, but you can go back and listen to the podcast and all that. But I knew that I wanted to get married, and I knew I wanted to marry someone stable from a nice family, right? I had, because this is what Dad and Sherry modeled for me, and Sherry and I had a lot of lengthy discussions about, you know, the kind of person that you pursue when you want to get married. So,
True.
You know, and we knew within 6 weeks.
Well, we were engaged within 6 weeks, right?
You're right. I think we knew within the first couple 3 weeks that that we were.
Yeah, and I think it is possible to know, and is also, but you, like we did. I mean, you really, when you go into it, you have to be committed. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this. You know, divorce is not an option here.
Right.
You both have to be committed and to work through whatever problems comes up, because we didn't work through.
No.
We didn't work through the stuff, and we've talked about that, saying, you know, work through your baggage. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to repeat all that, but, you know, if it takes a year to work through your baggage, and then you say, okay, now we know we're on the same path. Yeah. We're going to be stable, blah, blah, blah. We know how to work through things together and all of that stuff, so we can make this work.
Yeah.
And then you make the plans and make the commitment.
Yeah.
So that's part of pursuing as well.
It is.
So anyway, we're back to pursuing versus chasing. So
I mean, chasing is what people in hookup culture do.
Yeah, but okay, give the definition of pursuit. Give them that.
Mutual striving for a better relationship. To determine viability, the viability of the, like, is this going to work?
So you're pursuing each other.
Yeah.
You know, this is not the movies. Don't just ignore everything you see in movies.
Pretty much, yes.
TV.
Yep.
That's not how it works. And if you try that kind of stuff, you're going to come across like as a creep, or insane, or clingy, or whatever. I mean, I just still remember some of the scenes from the Notebook, which I didn't watch, but I've seen some of the scenes, and it's terrible. And it's like, the guy, don't act like him. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just like, he's a creep. When she said no, that's the end of it. Right? She wasn't interested. You move on, guys. Don't convince. Now, she may see you later as you become better, you make yourself a better person, blah, blah. You should be doing that anyway. And she may say, you know what, I was wrong. Or, you know, I was committed to this guy, but it didn't work out. And now I see him. It's like, you know, maybe. And then something, maybe. But you don't wait. You're not waiting for her. Guys. You
Actually,
don't do that.
This was Jordan and Tammy Peterson's story.
I don't...
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Whatever their story was, people can go listen to that.
Okay.
But I mean, if you can summarize it, that's fine. But all I'm saying is, if you come across that way, it's just you're chasing. That's what chasing is.
Yeah.
You're trying to get someone who doesn't have any interest,
right?
At least at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wait around for them, then you're not working on yourself.
Right.
So you should be working on yourself and go someone else. I mean, it's not like there's the one. You make someone the one once they decide to make you the one.
Yes.
And that's the way it is. Anyway, so movies stink in this this whole.
You're insulting my dad's all-time favorite. That's one of his favorite movies.
I don't care. The movies.
No,
movie.
I think for
the rest
him,
of the movie's okay.
Yeah, for him, it was the fact that they took care of each other as they got older, and he just,
fine, right?
that really appeals to him.
But just because that happened doesn't mean the beginning of how,
right?
How they got together, was the right way to go about it. No. All right.
Okay.
If you want to do the.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to make it sound like Jordan Peterson was a creep because that's not how it worked. But, I mean, they met when they were very young children. 8, 9 years old, something like that. Like, they grew up in the same town, and they ran in the same circles and played with the same group of kids and all this kind of stuff. And he said he knew early on that, I think they dated for a little while, and then she was like, eh. So she wandered off, and he went to college, so he was improving himself, right? I mean,
well, she didn't see what do women look for.
Right.
What do women look for in a partner versus what men look for?
Right.
Women generally look for someone who they don't have to be stable, but they have the potential to be stable.
Yes.
They're working toward that stability.
Right.
Financial stability, for instance.
Yeah.
Or other things like that. So you don't have to be the perfect guy, but you have to be moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's what happened. I mean, she actually had moved in with someone else, and then that relationship fizzled out. So, and I guess she and Jordan had kept in contact over the years, and then they started dating again, and he had improved his, financial stability, and he had improved himself, and, so.
So I don't know if he waited around for her, but maybe not, but he
used the time.
He used the time to improve, yes. And it just worked out.
They've been married just a couple of years longer than we have.
Yeah, so what, 37 years?
Something like that.
So, I mean, it worked out for them.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's going to work out for everyone.
Right.
That's why I said, you don't wait. Just start the improvement process now.
Yeah.
And then go try to date. I mean, you're learning, and don't move in together. So stupid. Don't link yourself legally on a lease, for instance, or buying a house or all that stuff before you're married. You've got to find out who the person is.
Yeah.
And all that. You can see how they manage their house without actually moving in with them.
Right.
And of course, we've always said, no sex before marriage, no sex outside of marriage. It damages you, and it damages them.
Mm.
And the whole message of the culture today is the exact opposite of that. So you have to take it for what it is. We understand the temptations. We fell to the temptations.
We did.
There's no judgment about that. It's just the advice that we would give. Anyway, so the chase. So what did you write down for chasing? Things that you not chase? What?
No, things that you chase don't want to be caught.
Oh, right. And that includes things like, trying to change who you are to be more likable to someone. Mm-hmm. Again, that's bigger than just asking them out multiple times. But so that's the other thing. If they're not interested, then they're not.
Yeah.
So anyway, don't chase.
Yes.
Have we made that clear enough?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah.
But the pursue is a mutual thing, right?
Yes.
I mean,
you've agreed that you're both headed in the same direction.
Yeah.
That you want the same things.
Or at least you're trying to find that out.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, you've pursued each other. You've gone through the ceremony.
Well,
But
there's stages. So
right.
Are some of these before?
I guess let's see.
Some of these are before marriage. So
Right. So figure
before we
out
would
each
say-
other's interests.
yeah.
Are you interested in the same things? Now, you and I were not, but we also found that, I could take interest in what you were interested in, and you did the same for me. So it wasn't
And it's just there's enough overlap that you like to learn from each other.
right.
And that's great. I mean, that's actually a good thing. If you were 100% the same interests, that's not bad, but then you're not learning something new from each other. You might have to work on that part.
Right. We already said this. Talk about exclusivity. What is the end goal of this relationship? Are we in this for the long haul, or
Or to at least find out if
yes,
or are we just having a casual fling and having fun together? It's if you're not looking to get married yet, and you just have companionship, that's okay.
sure,
But you got to be careful that you're both on the same page there.
Right,
One of you might be expecting, I think this is going to work out long term, and the other's like, I don't know.
yeah.
I mean,
You have to be honest. You just got to be honest
do
with
have
each
to be
other.
honest. I mean, I had that experience in college, just trying to. I knew, like, after I graduated, this girl was not graduated.
Yeah.
And we were going to be long distance, and I knew that wasn't going to work because I'd tried it before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to make it absolutely clear that we were just having some fun together, spending time together. But once I graduated, it was really kind of, she needed to go do her thing.
Right.
And I was going to go do my thing. And I tried to make it clear. I think she thought something else for a while, but then got the message. So nothing bad happened, but it could have. So, you don't want to hurt someone. Anyway, so on the same page.
Yes.
Interests, values.
Yes.
Faith, yes or no, all that kind of thing.
All that.
Family.
Yes.
And don't lie to each other. Don't think you can change someone's mind after you get married. Like, if they don't want kids and you do, you think, I'll just change their mind.
Yeah.
Or they will change their mind. It's like,
yeah.
It's not fair to them.
No.
And it's not fair to you, because they're not going to change their mind.
Right.
Most likely.
Right.
Anyway, so those are the sorts of things. There's probably a lot more, but the sorts of things that you need to work through over time. I mean, I wouldn't dump all this on somebody on the third date. The third date is, hey, this is my goal to see if we're compatible, because my end goal down the road is, whenever that is marriage. And that's, I want to make sure we're on the same page, as we've said.
Right.
And if they go, yeah, me too, that's fine. And then you start vetting and you start seeing. And then over time you talk about these things. And then you put each other in situations that will reveal
character flaws. And then you got to decide, do I want to put up with this or not? Because you have to go into it. I'm giving a lot more than I had actually planned. But anyway, you have to go into it thinking, this character flaw is not going to change. Can I handle it? Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they won't change, because people do change. We've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it in ourselves, and we've seen it in other people. It happens, right? But you have to want it, and if they don't want to change, you are not going to fix them.
Right. Yes.
And so you got to decide, can I live for the rest of my life with this character flaw or not? And then you talk about it. And maybe they will change. Maybe they'll change it, but they have to do it before you get married, right? If it's really a sticking point.
Yeah.
So anyway, a long talk about that. And if you're already married and you're thinking, crap, we didn't do any of this, That's okay. Start now. You can still improve yourself, and you can still, and this is what we're going to talk about.
Yes.
You still pursue each other, and you can still help each other grow, which is the point of marriage anyway.
Yes, it is.
One of the points of marriage. But go ahead.
So, also while you're dating, understand that your hormones will get stirred up if you really like the person.
Absolutely.
But that isn't always love right away. You can't just pin that word on it immediately.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to use the word love, it's a different kind of love.
Right.
It's not even romantic love. It's not true love, which is defined by self-sacrifice for the other person.
Right.
Right. So that would be true love. You're ready to do that, but what you're feeling is emotion and the hormones and that's all right. I mean, that's the way we're built.
Yeah.
Right. It gets us started.
Sure.
But it's going to be gone in a year to 18 months. That's what studies show. Those
not completely gone. You still love your spouse.
No. But you don't misunderstand.
Okay.
The initial hormones that bring you together switch over to, and they're still there, but they subside a bit, and you switch over to the hormones that hold you together.
Right.
You become companions and so on. And yeah, the whole pursuit thing, that's what we're going to talk when we talk about that. That's keeping the romance alive.
Right. I mean, you're building
sort of
you're building friendship and romance. That
Yes.
was going to be the last.
Right. But
yeah.
That initial wash of hormones where people sit there and they've seen somebody, love at first sight is bull BS. Most of the time.
Except, what did you say the first time you saw me?
You don't want me to. I don't remember because you don't want me to say what I'm thinking right now. So, what did I say the first time I saw you?
You said you saw me and you said I could marry her. I
Okay.
think I could marry her.
Yeah, I probably did. But that doesn't mean I was like, okay. I had to trick you into going out with me first.
I'm the one who said I'm going to marry you.
But that was after a while.
Yeah, well, after 2 whole weeks.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, all right.
That was your response, pretty much.
It was, because I didn't know what to say. I'm like, But we kind of knew. And like I said earlier, it doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
For everyone. You have to know yourself, and you have to, get to know them. So, oh my goodness. So anyway, but I had just recently heard the thing about, this rush of hormones that you feel it's at least a different kind of love.
Right.
Right. It's more of a desire, again, a thing that's built into us, but it gets you kind of started on the path, right? But you can feel this way for someone, and they have nothing for you.
That's true.
Right?
That is true.
So it doesn't indicate true love.
Yeah.
Right? That you're going to marry this person or whatever, or even get a date. So you have to learn how to manage how you feel. And that's okay. We all have to learn that. And it's difficult. I wish someone had told me and taught me how to do that in high school. I'll tell you, things would have been better.
Yeah.
Had I known. It would have been easier. So we're telling you now. Anyway, I'm just rambling.
So we're going to talk about how, what does that pursuit look like now that you've said I do, and you're going to go home together after your honeymoon, and you're going to go back to work, go back to your routine, all of that stuff. What does it look like after the ceremony? Like, what is pursuit
Yes.
continuing to pursue each other. Well, I mean, one thing you could say is, how did we do this prior to the wedding?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
what did we do? We dated. We did fun things together.
Yep.
We talked a lot. You
Yep.
know, we sat up late nights talking about things.
Yep.
Well, we did little things for each other. Um, that, you know, we had appropriate affection prior to marriage, and now, you know, we have all the affection we want
Right.
after marriage, right? And those are all good things to do when you're building your relationship. But once you're married, you absolutely 100% must continue to do those things.
Yeah. Because you're still building.
Yeah. And now you're really building,
Yeah.
right?
You've
now
established the family.
now you've established that you're committed to each other.
Right.
So now you really start putting those bricks together,
Yeah.
right? And so for us, that's, you know, we kept dating
Yeah. And we
right from the start, you know, other than there have been a few gaps here and there when I had babies. But other than that,
when
you
you
know,
couldn't go
once
out.
the babies were old enough to leave with a sitter, we got right back to date night. We were right back at it.
Right. But even when we couldn't go out, we still set aside
Yeah.
the time.
Yes.
Uh,
We would put the kids to bed, and then
and then we'd have time.
we'd have time to ourselves.
to intentionally do that, not to just kind of flop on the couch and watch TV. Though we did that sometimes too. But,
Sure.
But actually, very early in our marriage, we didn't have a TV.
No, well, we had a TV. We just didn't have.
Or didn't have cable.
No.
Didn't have anything to watch.
No.
We might use a VCR.
Yeah.
That's how shows how old we are. Blockbuster was still around, but we spent intentional time together.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the communication that you had prior to your wedding needs to continue and intensify. Now that you're living in the same home together, now you're really observing how this person lives day to day in their routine and all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to navigate that.
Right.
You know, like, does your spouse leave stuff out? Do they drop their dirty clothes on the floor? Do they leave the toothpaste lid off? That, you know, those little things. But
hopefully
these
you've seen them. You already know.
Yeah, maybe.
Sometimes.
Maybe. I don't know.
At least
Anyway.
try to understand why they do what they do.
Yeah. So now you've got to navigate all of that, which requires communication.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying that being a slob for your spouse is part of the pursuit, because that's not what I'm
Right.
saying.
But, you know, leaving the knife on the edge of the sink, from my perspective, is like, I might use it again. So I don't want to throw it in the sink and contaminate it, and I don't want to put it on the counter and get that dirty too. So I'll put the knife there, and then that's kind of where it stays until I'm done with it. And you could come in and, what the heck is this knife doing here? This is just a really small example, but I think it could happen with a lot of things, you know. And you need to know, why is this knife here? It doesn't make any sense. And then, you know, you could go one of two ways. You could ask me and I could explain it, or you could get mad and say, why are you always leaving the knife on the edge of the sink? And I can't remember what it's called. There was a name for it, but
A name for what?
for the knife, it's a specific knife that's
Okay.
you know, that's going to be used again, so I don't want it contaminated.
I'm not sure how we got off on this tangent.
This is just
okay.
one small example of the things you were talking about.
Okay.
Do I drop? I don't leave dirty clothes on the floor.
No, you don't.
I don't think I ever did.
No.
But some people might. That's another example.
But these are just things that you have to work out once you're living together, right?
Sure.
And so another big thing for transparency. We're really open with each other.
Yeah.
You know, we don't keep things from each other at all.
Right.
Ever. And that's that can be something that you pursue slowly as you're building your relationship with your spouse, and then, hopefully you do reach a point where it's like, I can come to you with any problem or anything,
Yeah.
and we can have a good discussion about it and work it out. We just did that at the dinner table this evening. I won't say what we were talking about, but we had a little discussion about something that you were concerned about. Right. But you came to me because you knew that I was not going to blow up and cry and get upset and, all of that kind of stuff. You knew that I would just listen and, we could ask questions and we could work it out, right? Something else that tends to fall off after the wedding day for some reason, and I don't understand this at all, is affection. I
think it's a mindset.
Yeah.
I think you get busy, you get into a routine.
Right.
It starts to seem boring.
Yeah.
And if you don't think you have to work on your marriage, then you walk in the house and you're tired, and maybe you have expectations that aren't being met,
right,
and stuff like that, and you it kind of goes by the wayside, and then you slowly drift.
Yes.
Which is dumb.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, even if you're not married, if you're not doing something to improve yourself, then you're basically moving backwards because you're drifting with the river.
Right.
That's going downhill, but you want to go up.
Right.
Right. So you always have to work, and it's the same thing with marriage.
Well, so but I'm talking about affection specifically.
That's a thing that drops off because of what I just described.
Right. I mean, you and I also decided early on that we were going to always hold hands.
Yeah, even when we argue.
Even when we're mad at each other, we still will hold hands. Yeah. And actually, multiple of our kids have taken pictures of us holding hands from behind, like that we're walking down the beach together as family or whatever, and there's like multiple pictures of us holding hands walking down the beach.
Yeah.
And I think that's because it meant something to them to see us do that. And then once the kids all reached the age where they could let themselves out of the car, you leaned over to me and said, "Don't touch the door. I'm going to open the door." Because you did that when we were first married. When we first started dating and when we were first married.
Yes.
But then we had children and that became hugely impractical. Because when you're trying to wrangle 6 kids out of a car, it just doesn't make sense for me to sit there for an extra 45 seconds or whatever, when we've got to unbuckle multiple children out of car seats and such. So, but once they could all get out of the car, you do that for me now.
Yes.
I know. I tell people this. I said, when I'm out in public with you or either one of the boys, I don't touch doors.
Yeah.
I'll stand back and wait. And they know it.
Yeah.
And my one son, who's not even married, he still will get out of the back seat.
Yeah, he will. Always surprises me, I guess, a little bit.
And he'll come and
I think that's
open
great.
the door. And he got a comment from a guy in the parking lot once.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he was like, "Good on you. You open the door for your mom. That's right. You do that." And I was going, okay, I'm not going to say anything, but, another thing, and I think we had a whole podcast on gratitude.
Yes.
But that's another part of pursuing is it's not just the saying thank you, it's the keeping your eyes open.
Yes.
And
to see what's good.
To see what your partner is doing for you on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And at little things. I'm not talking about thank you for bringing me flowers. Yeah, you should do that. Or thank you for taking me out to dinner. Yes, of course you should do that. But you went out today and did a bunch of painting on some of our picnic equipment or bonfire equipment today. And when you came in, I said thank you. When you do yard work, I say thank you. If I go downstairs and I make breakfast, you say, that kind of thing. If I make all the water, we make our own water bottles in the morning, just little things,
yes.
But it's just a matter of always being aware. Mm-hmm. And the more you practice that, the more you see the good things that your spouse is doing.
Yes.
That just, it opens your eyes.
Right.
It does.
And so it doesn't just help them feel like they're appreciated, which it does, and it should be that way, right? But it changes you.
Yes, it does.
Too.
Because it shifts your perspective away from this person is annoying.
Right. I mean, so many people can. Well, anyway, they can be with a perfectly good person, but they've been annoyed at them so long that they fail to see all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And when there's a revelation, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do activities together. This is not just, this goes a little bit beyond dating, I guess. Overnighters.
Yeah, overnighters.
You know, what did Trey and Lee Morgan, they say, what is it, the rule of twos? Was it like, every two, you should go out on a date every 2 weeks? We do it every week. You should go, you know, away on an overnight every couple of months. Something like that.
Once a quarter.
And every 2 years, go on a trip.
Yeah.
Like you go away together.
Yeah.
So we did that last year. We did that.
Did we?
Yeah, we went to Chattanooga.
That's right, we did.
So, but doing activities together. This is also a good way to discover what your spouse's interests really are.
Sure.
You know, and I have cultivated a lot of mutual interests by just doing activities together.
Yeah. We went kayaking.
Yeah.
Paddleboarding. Drifting down the river.
Tubing.
On tubes.
Yeah.
Tubing in the snow.
Yes.
You were about to say
zip lines.
Rock. What was it? What is it called?
Ropes course.
The ropes course.
Ropes course. You did the zip line. I didn't do the zip line.
I did a zip line, but you did it with me.
Oh, I did. Yeah, Chattanooga. Yeah, I did.
You know.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the next step toward our skydiving adventure.
Oh, God.
That will happen in a couple years. So if we're still doing this podcast, we'll tell you about it then. But yeah, I mean, so I'm helping you little by little
overcome my fear of heights
and have the fun of doing those things.
Yeah, but this is just, you know, I mean, we're not just going to go sit in a restaurant and have dinner together. I mean, we do that, but we want to do other things together. You know, like right now we're kind of in a where we go see live music.
Yep.
You know, when we try to do that.
Inexpensive concerts.
There's a lot of live music, and now summer's coming, so it's going to be all over the place. And I have a buddy who plays the guitar, and he's going to be doing stuff. So, yeah, and that's how you discover. Again, that's how you discover the mutual. Yeah. The things you like to do together.
And you know, when you're young, it doesn't have to be expensive. Dates don't have to be expensive.
No.
Know? The point is to spend time together, not to necessarily do the thing. The thing that you're doing is the context in which you spend time together.
Yeah.
And learn about each other.
Right. Right now, my daughter and son-in-law, they're trying to save some money, and they go on a date every week. But recently, it's been, you know, they'll be gone an hour or two, and they'll get back. And what'd you guys do? Oh, we just went for a walk.
Yeah.
We just went to a coffee shop. We just ran some errands together and had a good talk.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I mean, our dates aren't always crazy expensive either.
No, they're not. I mean,
we try not to do that.
And sometimes we do the at-home thing.
Yeah. That's you know,
again,
that's actually how this podcast started.
Yeah, because the kids are moved out basically, and we could do it.
Right.
And but you know, when you have kids in the house, it may be different. But you work through it through the stages of your life. Mm-hmm. You still do the thing, which is dating, but it changes what it looks like as your family grows, as you guys grow,
right?
That sort of thing.
So, excuse me, jeez. So the last two things kind of go together. It's just being transparent with each other, and then honesty. Yeah. At all times.
Right. kind of the same thing.
So, and those are actually fall under the next category, which is like, why do we do it? Why would we not just be lazy and just live together and be roommates and, just kind of drift around, These things that we do together, you reap the rewards of it, which is where we're at right now.
Yes.
So we love being together. We love doing stuff together. Mm-hmm. We also love being with our kids.
Yes, we do. Very much.
Yeah. But, we love to just drop everything and we're just going to go here for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And just,
And we're at that stage of life.
Yes, we are. Yeah. So, but some of the other, like, results and rewards from this pursuit, we have a lot of fun together.
Yep. We're more in love now.
Yes, definitely.
Than we were when we started.
See, that's what's waiting at the other end.
Well, but if you continue the pursuit through your whole marriage, then your love grows.
Yeah.
You don't become bored.
Yeah.
With each other, you don't face temptations that people face.
Yes.
That could destroy your marriage.
Yeah.
You work things out and you grow. So the rewards, and we've talked about this before, but just growth as a person.
Right.
Makes you a better person, and you become better together,
mm-hmm.
and you become closer together over the years.
Right. So, stability in your relationship, not the financial stability we were discussing earlier, but it's like
comes.
It does, but the stability we're talking about is, I know I can rely on you.
Yep.
If I call you, you're going to pick up the phone. If you call me, I'm going to pick up the phone. We're there for each other. It's that kind of stability.
Yeah.
That it's knowing that you have, I wrote down safe space. I hate that phrase, but it applies here.
Well, there's safety in the relationship.
It's not just that, though. It's that you and I can come to each other with anything.
Yeah.
And talk and know that this is the place where I go where there's not condemnation and anger and all of the other things, right? That comes with it.
Yep.
So you grow together.
Yep.
But we talked about that because we started out really young. You were 22 and I was 20.
Yeah.
So we literally grew up together.
Which we suggest. And there's a whole reason for that
yes.
I'm not going to talk about now.
Yeah.
But we suggest that.
Yep.
And I think it's a good thing as long as you know how to do it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
Well, you wrote the rest of this, so...
the traits that we grow in, I called marriage a cauldron for practice.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best.
Well.
But, we already talked about truthfulness and honesty. So, as you have even before you have kids, you are a family and you have to solve problems.
Yeah.
So you learn how to solve problems together.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have a conflict, you learn how to, and if you have to get help in this, do it. You learn how to work through a conflict or a disagreement so that you're not angry at each other and saying things you don't mean but wish you didn't later and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And fighting and all that stuff. You don't need to do that.
That's going to happen.
It's going to happen, but if you know how to deal with it,
mm-hmm.
And this is the practice for dealing with it,
mm-hmm.
right? But you should learn how.
Right.
At least get the fundamentals down.
Right. Well, it's also knowing that even if you do have a nasty conflict and you do say
if it
happens, you know that person's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's
loyalty, and you're not going anywhere. There's the loyalty, and you just that it's time now to like step back, get your anger under control, and then go back and have a rational discussion, and that's going to happen.
Yes, but you have to learn how to manage your emotions.
Yeah. Because you and I, I think we discussed this the last time, but we had a nasty fight over Christmas.
Was it nasty?
Yeah.
It was a fight.
It was a fight.
We don't have nasty fights anymore. We didn't call each other names or yell at each
No,
other.
but we got really angry at each other.
We were a bit angry, yeah.
You know,
I'm
but you know,
trying
we
to-
both stepped away, and it's like, I'm not getting what I want. You're not getting what you want. So we need to sit down and discuss what we both want, so we can figure out how to solve this.
Right.
So that's kind of what we did. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but you learn how to do it.
Yeah.
So you learn how to compromise, to find mutual solutions. That's what we just talked about.
Right.
As you serve one another, and this is what we talked about, not just the gratitude, but as you do things for one another, we're built to do that, in our happiness, and that's not the right word, maybe our joy increases. It's this underlying happiness, not the dopamine that we've talked about before, but this underlying happiness that we're pursuing, basically, happens as we serve one another.
Right.
So you increase your selflessness. You become less selfish, more empathetic, more caring. You learn how to manage your emotions properly. Let's see. You become loyal, patient, kind. You know how to manage. I'll get there. You know how to manage resources to reach a goal. Right. You have a certain amount of money. You got a budget. You got to figure out what are we going to place the priority on. What do we want to do short term, and what do we want to do long term? And you learn how to do it. And if you really have no clue on how to do it, then you get help. But marriage is the practice, the arena. Maybe that's a better one, arena, for practice. Anyway, and then when you have kids, you experience the joys of childhood again with your kids. It's not living vicariously. It's not being a child yourself. It's just it's a different experience of childhood, but it is that experience.
Well, and honestly,
you experience it with them.
We're doing it
And
all
then you do
over
it
again with your grandkids.
Yes.
Which is why you should pursue staying in shape. It makes a huge difference.
That's one of the improvements we've talked about way back before. Be in shape, be healthy, do everything you can.
Yeah, I went on a co-op with my grandkids 2 weeks ago, and one of my gym shirts says, "Cool grandmas have muscles." And I just put it on and wore it because whatever. I wasn't trying to make a statement necessarily. It's just what I grabbed.
Threw it on. Okay.
Yeah. So I got there, and Wilder pulled his buddy aside, and he goes, "Look at my grandma's T-shirt. Look at my G-Mom's T-shirt." And he said his friend laughed, and I said, "Well, what would you want?" I said, "Do you want me to be old, decrepit, walking around with a walker, a cane?" He said, "No." And I said, "There's your choice. You can have a grandma with muscles, or you can have that." So you can poke fun at me all you want.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all right.
Side note.
And the last thing, and then where I was just thinking, I'm going to draw back just a little bit, to the 30,000-foot view of what marriage is and what you're doing. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? And it's not just, and we're just focused on ourselves, our family, our house, the things that we have to deal with, our job, whatever.
Yeah.
But marriage, a strong marriage, forms the foundation for a civilized society, right? And you raise your kids in a stable marriage so they know how to form a stable marriage later, and you perpetuate a civilized society.
Right.
Today, often we see societal breakdown because I think a lot of it is a symptom of the destruction of marriage.
Definitely.
At least in the United States,
yeah,
and probably some other countries. When marriage falls apart, then everything else falls apart.
Yeah.
Right. It's not It's not politics, because politics is downstream of how our marriages are, how
Right.
we relate to one another. So anyway, that's just an encouragement. That's why we care about marriage. One of the reasons we care about marriage so much is we want to leave a good world to our grandchildren.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I feel very strongly about that.
yeah, so that's kind of like the bigger picture, if you will. And I'm not going
Right.
to spend a lot of time on it, but so
I mean,
anyway,
you're pursuing a good marriage, and eventually your grandkids are going to see it. That's what
Yeah.
my kids
that's what they
experienced
see now, right?
with my parents and your parents, both. You know, and that's definitely what we're trying to model for our kids. I mean, they have already seen it, and the ones that are married are try I believe they're looking at us and saying, I want that too.
Yeah,
I want
think they
what
know
you had.
what they want.
Yeah. But now our grandkids are seeing it,
Yes,
you know.
which is great.
But all of this is at the other end. We're not at the tail end, but it's at the other end of all of this work that we've put in
Yeah.
over the years
A later stage, right?
in the pursuing part.
Yeah.
And that's why it matters. That's why it's important.
Yeah. Anyway, cauldrons.
It feels that way sometimes.
It does. What I also wrote down, gold is refined in the fire, and
Yeah.
what happens? I mean, you melt down, and all the junk that you don't want separates,
Yeah.
and you get rid of it.
Yeah, it
right?
floats to the top
So,
and you get rid of it.
and that's what you're doing
Yeah.
to yourself, and it's hard,
Yeah, it is hard.
but it's better than the alternative. You can live a single selfish life. Generally.
You can lead a married selfish life for that
lead
matter.
a married selfish life. Exactly, you're right. But you don't. I mean, the reward. I don't know. Maybe you see the rewards are quicker, easier, But in the end, you're going to look back and realize what a waste it was, and not have the rewards of what we're talking about here,
Right.
where you pursue each other and etc. So anyway, so the pursuit is more than. This is why it's not trivial, right? It's pursuit of each other, pursuit of being better, mutual growth, friendship, companionship, better family, better society.
Yeah.
All of that. You're pursuing these big things.
Right.
And
By just doing the little things
Right.
for each other every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you might think, oh, these don't make any difference. It's not a big deal if I don't do this today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like exercise, right? You skip a day, and then you skip another day, and then you skip another day, and then you're gaining weight and getting unhealthy, rather than just doing the work that is hard and doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it is,
Right.
Because everything adds up together, and you keep yourself on a trajectory toward being better, rather than the trajectory of not being better.
Right.
So there's my sermon. I think we covered it all.
Yes. I think we have.
Yeah. So for you guys listening, we really glad that you do, and we hope you take it all to heart and apply it to your marriage. And we'll have more. But are we done?
Yes, we are.
I think we done. All right. This has been Marriage
Marriage
on
on
the
the
Half
Half Shell.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.